Welcome to the CodPast podcast, where your fishy past hooks your brilliant future. With Dr. Deborah, Laura, and Dr. Trish.
Here we go. I'm going to share it. Here we go.
And Dr. Trish.
Deborah? Did you play it? Did I miss it?
It's at the end of
I did.
Welcome to the CodPast podcast, where your fishy past hooks your brilliant future. With Dr. Deborah, Laura, and Dr. Trish.
Thanks, Shelby.
Thanks, Shelby.
You're welcome. I realized I could have done it live.
Oh, you know what? Can you do it? That would be fun. That could really.
Yeah, I think you should do it live. Yeah, that would be fabulous.
Do we do that right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can remember it. Welcome to the CodPast podcast, where we talk about your fishy past to hook your brilliant future with Dr. Deborah, Laura, and Dr. Trish.
Yay.
I love it.
You're awesome.
Welcome to Acting for Advertising.
Yes. Or improv.
Mm-hmm.
So
Shelby's going to be really rich and famous someday. So anybody who sees this better whack her up right now, so that, well, not whack her up, but wrap her up.
Wrap her up.
Not whack her up. I mean, I'm thinking of
suck her up. Yeah. So today we are going to welcome our guest, Shelby Lewis. But first, I have a joke for you. Well, I've never been so insulted.
That's cute. That's very cute.
I got
So
one.
we always have a fishy joke, but today we're so happy to be here. We came 2 weeks ago. We were together, so we're all buzzed up with energy and synergy for sure. And we have a very special guest on today. Her name is Shelby Lewis, and she is an actor, and she's also a theater educator, as well as a voiceover actor and theater and film. So it's really great to have her. Shelby went to the Interlochen Arts Academy for high school in Northern Michigan. It's a world-renowned art school. She did theater there for her high school years. She went on to Carnegie Mellon School of Drama and graduated from the Carnegie Mellon School of Drama. And then she got her master's in theater education at the University of Northern Colorado. So she's very well educated, but she's also intuitive, spiritual, smart, articulate young woman. And we're so happy to have her here today. And
she's Dr. Deborah's daughter, DDD.
my heart, yes.
And she is super talented. And I used to work for Mellon Bank. I didn't know you went there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Carnegie Mellon. So
Mellon Bank made my life amazing. Yeah, Shelby's amazing, and she's got an amazing mama. And thank God you finally got on this CodPast. We've been wanting you for months.
Thank
we're
you.
so excited. Yes.
I'm so glad to be here. And I was just talking to my mom and then was like, let's do this. Because I've also wanted to be on it for months. I'm just grateful to be present with you all. And what I just did this morning, I just got back from a gig. I rehearsed a sensory-friendly concert that the local orchestra here at the Fort Wayne Philharmonic in Fort Wayne, Indiana, they're doing is their first sensory-friendly showing. So all of their concerts as an organization, they're trying to make it a little bit more accessible for the disabled population, which is a huge thing on my heart. And also
so a sensory-friendly, multi-sensory, because I teach a class called Opening Up Your Seven Senses, because people close them off.
Yeah.
And we know that people that don't, can't hear, they can see better. People that can't see can hear better and things like that. Is that what you mean?
It's more like making those who have sensory sensitivities are able to, if you're going to an orchestra concert, if you've never been before, it is a wall of sound, right? And so I'm going to be there as a consultant to make sure that they have resources that let them know this is what it's going to be to go to an orchestra concert if it's your first time, that pictures walking them through, which we call the social story. And also I'm going to host the concert tomorrow and welcome everyone, but also say, if you need to walk up and down the aisles, feel free, because some people, the way they experience and kind of process life is to be rocking back and forth in a chair, right?
Right, that's right.
And so today I had a rehearsal just about the little script, but also I had an hour-long training with not only the musicians of the orchestra, but also the staff and management team of the Fort Wayne Philharmonic, which was, truly it shows the values that the company has to have me in and not only do that stamp of, okay, great, we're doing the accessibility thing, but truly wanting to learn and seeing how it can ripple into their larger programming. So that was really special for me today, but that's just like one thing I do. So, but it came from my master's thesis where, as I was looking into theater education, when we would have choice about different populations or different theaters to research, I just kept being drawn towards this group of individuals who needed more accessibility, representation, and inclusion, meaning able to participate in it. So I can talk all day about disability inclusion, but I have been fortunate enough to, I ended up directing and writing an adaptive version of A Christmas Carol for adults with disabilities. So I went into a day school called the Life Adult Day Academy, called LADA, and we did a 2-month rehearsal process, and everybody had lines and parts from the original Charles Dickens play, and there ended up being 60 actors with disabilities doing all different things. And it was one of the highlights of my life. And my mom actually got to see it. Mom, what do you remember what that felt like to watch that? What was that like?
It felt like you gave these wonderful actors a voice, and they had costumes, and they were so proud that they remembered their line, and they were, on the spectrum, or they could have had other disabilities, and they all got to be a part of it. And then people that were guiding them and helping them. It was just a beautiful symphony of love, really. That's how I felt like, because who doesn't love that story? And then Bob Cratchit comes out, and he's this big guy who's, and it was really good. It was really awesome experience.
And she did say that. She was like, I was laughing, belly laughing, and then I was crying because it was so touching. And it's just, even though I don't always work with that population, I think that's a through line of what I do with anyone I work with as a coach or a teacher or a director, is that idea of finding the essence of what makes you special, you unique, what your superpower is, and polishing it and embodying it yourself, right? Because you need to be able to own it, and then just letting it shine for the world. So that's kind of what I do. And I've been excited to see how I've been able to surf a lot of different opportunities to do that same thing.
Well, go ahead, Laura.
I was going to say, Shelby, I'm a huge theater fan. I'm a fan, especially musicals. And the small plays I've been in, now it's a little teeny tiny zip code in Virginia. But we used to do theater for fundraisers so that the parents kind of knew what the kids were going through. And what I loved about theater is it's an individual, I'll say, sport, as well as a team sport, because you are supporting one another, but you need to step up to the bat and perform your best. And I absolutely love what theater can bring into people's worlds. And you don't just have to get on the stage. You can use a lot of the exercises to better yourself. So I'd love it if you talked about that, because our audience is always looking to get better at whatever they do.
Well, and when one of the things, my life belief is that everybody is born exactly perfect. And that, you know, I have a daughter who has autism, and she was my greatest teacher, and she's given me some of the most incredible pleasures of, you know, just many. But I think that there's a story, I think it was Napoleon Hill, whose son was born without ears. Is that Napoleon Hill? I think. And he told his son, "You are so lucky, because people are always going to feel sorry for you. And so you can use that your whole life to get interviews, to talk to people about what that means to you." And he said, you know, other people are born, they look normal, but none of us are completely normal. We have these little glitches, but it's not so obvious. He said, God gave you an obvious one that you can do something really cool with. And his son went on to do something amazing. But I think the number one fear is getting on stage. The number one fear is public speaking over death. And I had Laura come to my school one time. I had K-12 schools, and she taught improv to all the kids, so that, you know, I think improv rule, isn't it? And what is it?
Yes, and.
Yes,
Laura and I are like, yes, and let's do it.
Yes, and.
And the thing, I said, wouldn't it be amazing if schools taught that? Yes, and so there was no wrong, there's no F, there's no, you know, and I'm not into everybody winning a trophy. I'm not into that at all, but I'm just saying that how you show up is good for that moment. And then let's go to the next thing. And Laura did magic with these kids, because she had them like spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious or something. And, you know, they would spell it like this weird way, like XYZ, and everybody go, yay. And we had so much fun. But yeah, oh, that's so cool, Shelby. That's so
Hey, Shelby, could you maybe just so our audience gets to know you a little better, could you just kind of talk about your journey from when you were 7 and were going to move to Hollywood by yourself, and why you do what you do, and how you became, you know, a very accomplished Shakespeare actor, as well as voiceover, all those things, because I'm really interested to hear just your timeline journey and why you made those choices and where you are now.
Absolutely, Dr. Deborah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Much. Yes. And feel free to pop in, Mom, in case there's something that, because it's interesting as we think back to our pasts, right? I've heard that what you remember is actually, your memory is the last time you remembered it. Isn't that interesting? So as we go through our lives, and then we kind of put it in compartments of how we tell the story about something, that's how it happens. So if there's anything that you're like, that's not how it happened, little boo, I would love to hear that too. But from my 7-year-old wanting to go to Hollywood perspective, I just was, I don't know, we have so many pictures of me at 4 years old, hopping up on a trunk, performing and demanding everyone watch, right? I was an only child. I was fully spoiled in the best way. And by the time I was, even I did school plays. If we had book reports, I was like the first one to volunteer to present. There was something there. And I had a leadership spirit, because I have an amazing mother who is a natural born leader and a Leo and
a cheerleader.
Completely. And so I was very comfortable taking that role. So then I think it was about 11, and I auditioned for my first play, and it was for a musical, but Laura, you'll love this. I auditioned with a Lutheran hymn, because that's all I knew how to, right? Musical theater auditions, it's either pop or, you know, legit or whatever. And I just went in with the thing I sung all the time, which was the hymn from church. And I thought I was amazing. And somehow they gave me a role. That was very sweet of them. But within that, I met my, still to this day, childhood best friend. I was part of an ensemble. I think theater in general, as an only child, taught me to share, right? Like I share the spotlight, share props, all those kinds of things. But that's what really started my reflection, my self-exploration as a person too. So I was in community theater a lot. Anytime there was a role for a kid, I auditioned for it. And then after I got cast as Anne of Green Gables in a play.
Wow.
And it was just my first lead. And she had to go, the character went from, 13 to 18. And as a 15-year-old, that was a huge leap. And I think my mom even mentioned that I barely even asked to run lines, right? Like I was just this oddly independent human, right? Even with class, I was always a very good student, but I rarely asked for help. I just wanted to do it myself. And that was really important to me. And I didn't refuse help. It was just important to me to be that person who had, who was learning it and could really digest it. So after Anne of Green Gables, someone came up to me and said, hey, there's a world-renowned performing arts high school 20 minutes away. You want to audition? And I was like, okay. And my parents were very supportive. So we got an audition coach. I went in. That was another audition fail. I have a whole YouTube video about it because the 2 pieces I did were so bad. Then like it showed potential, which is all that the school needed to see. But I don't know. I did a comedic farcical monologue as like a dramatic poetry reading. You guys. It was supposed to be Laura's from the Fantastics, which is like, oh, I'm about to sing a song that's very pretty. And I was like, this morning, a bird woke me up. I mean, totally wrong. And then my other monologue, I did it. And he was like, isn't that supposed to be in a British accent? It's like, I didn't know anything, but they let me in and I'm so grateful. And that person who let me in is still my mentor and Shakespeare guru to this day.
Wow.
But I was a very serious kid. I loved, rollerblading, doing all that stuff. I had a lovely childhood, but when it came to like what I wanted to do, that idea of what do you want to do when you grow up? I always knew I wanted to be an actor. And I had an amazing supportive family that allowed me to do that. And so by going to this performing arts high school, I really got collegiate level training as a 16-year-old. I got exposed to Shakespeare. I got exposed to movement techniques. I got exposed to plays that not even people in college do, right? Like professional level things. So that really was formative in my life. And then because of those 3 years at this amazing arts program, I got into my dream school. So Carnegie Mellon School of Drama was what kind of everybody shot for. No one thinks you're actually going to get in, but you shoot for it. So when I got in, it was huge. And there were quite a few Interlochen people there.
Is that a high school or is it after high school or what is it?
So Interlochen is the high school. It's a boarding school for high school. And they also have a camp program. They have a public radio station. It's Interlochen Center.
I've heard of it. I just didn't know how it worked.
Yeah, it's in northern Michigan, about 20 minutes away from Traverse City. The only thing in Interlochen is this world-renowned arts campus and a grocery store and like a Wendy's. So it's just Interlochen. And we even lived there for a certain point so I could be close to school. But then Carnegie Mellon is in Pittsburgh. And for me, it was a really good size city because I was from a very tiny, beautiful town by the lake. And so it was a really nice kind of middle range city where, they had professional baseball teams. And I was there when the Steelers won the Super Bowl twice and people were like burning couches in the street. And I was like, but we won. Is that a celebration? Great. So I just learned a lot about that. And so, but Carnegie Mellon is, it was actually the first drama program in the nation. And so that's why it's so kind of renowned is that it and Juilliard are the ones that are either top 1 or 2.
Did you try out for Juilliard?
Yeah, I did, but I went and hated the audition because that's what people forget about auditioning. And maybe even in job interviews too, you forget that you're auditioning them as well. You're interviewing them as well.
That's right. I think, say that again, because people auditioning for jobs, interviewing for jobs, they think they're lucky if they get the job. But what about, how did you feel about that boss demeaning you during the interview? Is that really the kind of culture you want to work for?
I love that.
Exactly. It's completely a communication. And I work a lot as an audition coach now with students who are applying for BFA programs in acting, but it always has to be that. Even your college essay, it should be, this is who I am and take it or leave it. It's
and also the symbiosis of like, you're going to marry this job or these people or whatever. And if the interview person is toxic, that'll tell you something about the whole company's attitude. They wouldn't have those people interview if that wasn't part of okay culture. And I'm telling you, that little tidbit that you just said should be up.
That was the catch of the day.
Catch of the
That was
day.
the catch of the day. Because I think, you know, I even have talked to people that are getting ready to date somebody, right? And they just want to so bad, and it's the person that's in their eye, and they finally get the date or whatever. And they're so excited, but the person is horrible, but they don't care because they still got them, you know. And it's kind of like people get into these jobs that they hate and the culture they hate, and nobody respects anybody, and they go, oh yeah, they treated me like that at the interview. And you're like, well, even if they treated you that way in the store, that's part of their culture. And so, like, do you want to be a part of that?
And it comes from the scarcity. It comes from a scarcity mindset, right? Of if I don't take this job, then they'll never be. But the more we say no to the universe, the more we say yes to it too, right? The more we notice that when you start to say
that
no,
again, Shelby.
I'll do it in a voiceover voice. The more you say no to the universe, the more you're saying yes.
Oh, how about in a Irish accent or a Scottish?
Scottish.
Yeah.
The more you say no to the universe, the more you say yes.
Now, how about Shakespeare?
Right. Well, that's a longer conversation because there isn't actually a Shakespeare voice.
Well, what you do in those Shakespeare little Twix things you do on YouTube, do the English. Yes.
Which is a whole other life,
Mary Poppins voice.
Oh, Mary Poppins, yes. What do you do when you say no to the universe? You're saying yes to quite a few other things. Don't you agree?
Oh my gosh.
I would like to interject here. I'm going to interject twice. I want to wrap up that wonderful insight that you shared, Shelby, because I found I want to get better at storytelling. So I thought, well, I might as well get paid at that. And so I found a contract job that I thought was perfect for me. And there were a lot of things about it that were perfect. But when I went, and I mean, I got the job, but I said no to it. And it wasn't because it was bad. It's just nothing about it was really perfect. So I sat down and proed and conned everything. The cons were way bigger than the pros. And I realized everything in the pro column I had already received. Like I didn't need to go work for them. I had already received it. I realized that the way to go is group storytelling, not individual storytelling, you know, and all the things. And I'm like, okay, I've already gotten benefit, check. But I do want to move on to another topic that you are really good and know about, which is multi-passionate, because I don't think a lot of our audience members even know about that. And I know through conversations you've had with Deborah, I've learned a lot, but I'd love to hear what you know about it and how people may experience it.
Right. And I think this is thank you for that question. And I think it's a perfect next step, even talking about my journey, because from 11 years old, and I was like, great, I want to be an actor. I never wavered. I never had to think about, all these people were writhing of like, oh, I don't know what I want to do, which is tough in our system to have to pick it at 14, right? You're like a junior in high school and they're like, what do you want to be? Plan your life. And so I was grateful that I knew exactly what I wanted to be. And so then I went to all the best schools and I got into all the things. I had every green light. And then after a conservatory program, top level like that, like Carnegie Mellon, you go on an agent showcase where you go to New York or LA and you audition in front of agents, and then your career begins. And so I went to LA, I got an agent, I moved out there within like a month. My mom was like bawling and I was like, bye, I'm finally going to Hollywood. And then within maybe 4 months, I was doing the thing. And I had this complete quarter life crisis of, I don't like this at all. After I had invested my time and heart, my parents had invested time, heart, money. My mom showed up to every single performance I've ever done ever in my life. Like I had this moment of, oh no, this might not be it. And so It started a little bit from, I didn't love being a starving artist. I wanted to be like a filet mignon artist who could afford dinner. And so I got day jobs, but I always got them in the industry. So I was executive assistant to the president of a production company, actually of the producer who did The Passion of the Christ.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so he worked with Mel for 14 years at Icon Entertainment or Alcon. And then after Passion, he made his own company. And we had the Braveheart sword in the office for staff meetings. Like it was the whole thing. And so, but I got to be at this kind of high level to observe. I had been an actor for 10 years of really seriously doing that craft. And now I was in film TV land, even though I was from theater, and I was learning the other side. I was learning how I was watching other people audition rather than me being the auditioner. I was learning what goes into development of scripts. I was learning what people would love, but then go, ooh, that might not make money. And me also agreeing of like, oh, that's super true. Or wow, that was a bad script. Or wow, this is amazing. So I got to be on the other side of it. And I also had good money, and that meant a lot to me. And as I kept kind of trying on, and I was always auditioning still, but that was the first time my career kind of fractured a bit. And Laura, I felt so guilty about it. I mean, I cried at my mom all the time and be like, oh no, I'm so sorry. But I felt like I had wasted my time, which, as you said earlier, Laura, to study acting, in whether you want to be a professional actor or not, opens you up in so many ways, right? Same with Trish talking about, please come and do this with my students, even for a day. It just opens you up. Or to a disabled population like my mom saw, of just how much it can change them and give them a confidence they didn't even know they had, right? So that I was really enjoying it, but I was still feeling guilty I wasn't acting or doing the thing. And so as I kept going in my life, I was just really clarifying my values. I was clarifying what was important to me as an artist and as a human and as a citizen, all of this. So I think that's what eventually made me go and get my master's, which is just like a dip into, you have to care about the world. What part of the world are you going to care about, right? All of you on here want to heal the entire planet, right? And so I had to find my like niche of that. So now this idea of multi-passionate is what finally allowed me to forgive and embrace all of my interests. Because for a while I was guilty about them. I thought, I'm an actor. Oh, maybe I'm not. Then I'm this other thing. But I always thought I had to be one title. And I would talk to my mom and say like, oh gosh, am I scattered? Am I irresponsible? All this stuff. But I also love working with these 60 disabled actors to put on a Christmas Carol that like 100 people will see and make their life, right? Like, yes, I'm not acting, but it still feels within what I want to do. And so there's this idea of a through line that I'm still discovering a bit. And really the only through line is me, but what I mentioned earlier in this call that I've never really been able to communicate even that confidently until the last couple months is, oh, I empower people. You know, I see their authenticity and I go, oh my God, do that forever. Please, please, please. Let's polish that up. If they go, I think I'm good at this. I'm like, you're the best at that. Do it forever. You know, that's my super, and I mean it. I'm like your biggest cheerleader, but it comes from an authentic place. Because there's also responsibility when we have that talent, any talent that we have. Trish, you talk about that all the time in these CodPasts of like the gifts that we each are given. And it's our responsibility to share that with the world and use it to heal it. So this idea of multi-passionate can be in the career way, but it's really freed me up as a stamp of I can be an actor fully. I can be an audition coach fully, which I love. It's like this teeny weeny logistic, like, let's figure out the equation of getting you into college. I love that. I love how can we give them what they want, but it's actually what you want to give them, you know?
Give them what they want. Wait a minute. Say that again. Wait. Yeah. Give them what they want, but it's actually what you get. What? Say it again.
That was good. So my whole thing is this idea of authenticity. And in the acting world, just like we were talking about with interviews, it's very, I hope you like me, please. Is it going to work? I'll do whatever you want, right? So I had this great teacher in grad school who's a professional actor, and he's in like Ocean's 8. He's in all these other things that you would have recognized him, but you never know his name. But he is a working, has a huge house in San Diego actor, even though no one knows who he is. And he taught us this thing. He's like a skinny guy. He's from the South. He's very, I guess we used to call it a character actor, but he's a particular kind of vibe. And he says, I see all these young actors going to these auditions and they're trying to be, he uses a cookie analogy. He says, they come in and they go, I have all this training. What do you need me to be? Do you need me to be a chocolate chip cookie? I can be an Oreo. I can be a sugar cookie. Like, do you need a snickerdoodle today? I think I can pull that out of my toolbox as well. What do you need? And it's this weird energy of, I will, please help me help you. And he goes, what I go in and do is, hey, I'm a Thin Mint. And you might not need a Thin Mint today. The role you're asking me in for is Thin Mint enough, so I'm here, but I'm going to be such a Thin Mint that when you need that later down the line, because in casting, they're constantly casting for something. When you need a Thin Mint, you're going to think of me because I am a fucking Thin Mint. I'm so that. And that's the same thing in interviews too. It's a lot of, yes, what I can give you, but also I'm going to show up so authentically, because if it's even on a first date, even, what's the point of doing anything except here's who I am 110%. If it doesn't lead to a second date,
well,
you've gotten a free dinner and you have not wasted time, right?
I call it fail fast. So like everything I do, I don't want to waste time or money. So I just want to fail as fast as I can.
Love that.
So a lot of times I'll say, what I'm about to say is probably going to make you never, ever want to hang out with me or ever have me as a friend. And I'm okay with that. But I just want you to know now so that I don't get a month down the road and really like you a lot. And you go, no, that's not going to work for me. And so I'll say some whatever. But Shelby, when you're getting back to the multi-passionate, are you, so I never heard of this until Laura and Deborah were talking about it to me. And I mean, we're all bouncing all over because like, you name it, I'm passionate. Like I love love. So if it has love to do with it, I'm good. I'm there. And pretty much I can learn how to do anything. I mean, I thought I probably could do YouTube for brain surgery and do all right, but is that a bad thing? So are counselors and therapists naming people multi-passionate as like, oh, you poor thing, you have a multi-passionate disorder. I'm sorry.
Great
and is that what's happening?
I love that. It's the anti of that, because the word I haven't used yet, because I do have a disability inclusion awareness, is when people feel scattered, they say, oh my God, I'm so schizophrenic, right? Very serious disease. But we say that flippantly, like we do OCD, right? If we want things to be a certain way, we go, oh my gosh, it's my OCD, right? Whereas there are some people who truly have to touch the doorknob 20 times before they leave the house, right? So it's not that it's incorrect, but there are different variances of it. And so multi-passionate to me, instead of it being a diagnosis, the multi-passionate coach that I follow on Instagram, and now I'm in a course of hers actually, is called, it's at Joy Knows How. So joy.knows.how. And Deanna Joy, I ended up meeting her actually when I was in LA, just traveling a few weeks ago. She came all the way up from Long Beach. So if that doesn't show you how committed she is to people who are interested in multi-passionate, that's a lot. And she fought the traffic and we met, but I had been following her for a long time and she has a podcast as well. And what she said in one of her interviews was multi-passionate isn't it's not like an adjective, it's a noun. I am multi-passionate. So it's not something to be fixed. It's not something to be just like I'm an actor. I think I tried to fix that for a long time, right? It is just who I am, whether I have a gig or not. Even today, when I was presenting an hour long on disability awareness and representation and accessibility, I'm still an actor doing that. And so this idea of multi-passionate as an identity gave me a lot of freedom, because it just made me feel like I wasn't alone anymore. And it wasn't something I had to fix. So then what's nice about her, and why I've been talking about it so much with Dr. Deborah, is that it's given me so many tools, because the society isn't really set up for multi-passionates. It's set up for specialists. And we love specialists. They're who cure cancer, like that. Yes, we need them as well. But there's some people who are multi-passionate, like you said, Trish, of anything with love. Same with me, anything with authenticity and emboldening like who you are and why you're awesome. That's, I think, my through line that I'm finding.
Well, when we had the kids, I mean, I was so anti regular education, and I thought it was killing kids. I thought it was killing them. And especially at the lower end, if you had any issues, or if you came from a struggling family or whatever, you just, your deck is out in front of you. Like I mean, I used to say, you come out into this particular place and it's like, oh, you're screwed. You're going to have a hard time the whole time. Obviously, there are people that come out of those situations, but we were talking yesterday about why is it that paranormal isn't normal? Like, paranormal is what Jesus taught, and normal is what Jesus said, no, that's not it. And I think, here in town, our former Attorney General, Harvard graduate, married a woman from Juilliard. They were both just like these rigid people that had to do certain things. They had to get married exactly at the right time and have their kids, and did. And I happened to get to know him, and he said, my wife was Juilliard, but the reason that I married her is because, like, I always wanted to be a concert pianist. And I went, what? You're from Harvard, a lawyer. You're like as boring as they come. You wanted to be a concert pianist. And he's like, yeah, I just love playing the piano. And I said, all right, I've had it. Next political rendezvous that you do when you run for whatever, you're not going to say anything. They're going to push a piano out and you're going to start playing. And you won't even have to talk after that, because you're going to win the election. And he was really scared, because no one knew that side of him. And he thought he would be ridiculed, but he really was a concert pianist. I mean, he played Rachmaninoff, which is like, but he kept winning elections because he kept playing the piano. And I think that I'm so tired of the specialist syndrome and popping us out from a factory and saying, oh, you're good at this, that's all you're good at, boom, 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 boom. And the what you said in the beginning, like, you ask a 7-year-old, what do you want to be? And the thing we used to play with at the schools is we knew that in every stage in your life, there's something incredible that you want to be or do. And it may not be the same 10 years from now than it was then. And we had a little girl who was in 5th. Everybody had to decide what they wanted to be. If there was an instant fairy, bewitched, genie, I dream of genie, they had to decide, if you could just poof, be whatever you want right now, what would it be? And, we got the typical policeman, fireman, teacher. And this little girl goes, I want to be a butterfly. I said, okay. So we did everything according to, if somebody wanted to be a race car driver, we did race car math for them, race car history, race car science, race car, everything was their individualized plan, right? And so it was easy. You want to be a teacher? Okay, teach your math, teach your history. But this little girl's like, I want to be a butterfly. And I said, okay, well, we have to figure out the butterfly math, and we have to do butterfly history and do butterfly colors. And so anyway, we had to go to a Senate hearing later that day or something. And so we go in the Senate, and what, I don't know how this happened, but one of the senators said, they were kind of being mean, like, who are these kids and why do you think they're going to do something and they're not that great? And so they were asking the kids questions to see if I really knew what I was doing, having a school that was so bizarre. And even though we were accredited and all that, we weren't like crazy. We were doing it by the book, but we were doing it by my book, not their book. So they said to this little girl, and so what do you want to be, little girl? She's making everybody decide what they're going to be when they're 5. And she goes, oh, I know what I want to be. I want to be a butterfly. And they said, well, how do you expect to do that? She goes, I don't know, but Mrs. McCarty said, if I want to be a butterfly, it's okay. And so anyway, we get on the front page of the newspaper. School teaches kids they can grow up to be butterflies. Ha, 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 right? This lady calls me on the phone. This is like God, took care of me all the time. Lady calls me and she goes, are you the school that teaches children how to be butterflies? And I'm like, great, okay, what are you going to tell me? And I said, well, yes, I am. We have a little girl who's going to grow up and be a butterfly. And she started crying. She said, when I was a little girl, I said I wanted to be a butterfly, and people made fun of me and made fun of me. And she said, I am finishing my 5th tour of being in Madame Butterfly as the main character.
Chills, full body chills, Trish.
Yes, shivers. I love that. I love that so much. Oh my God, that's a great story, Trish. And just the whole time you were talking, Shelby, about the authenticity. And I think a lot of it, at least this is what I got out of it, is that I'm thinking about moving, and I'm thinking about, I hope my boss isn't listening.
Yay! She's moving here. She's going to move here.
Yeah, I want to move to Arizona.
So,
but anyways, I want a job out there, right? I want a job. I don't want to quit working. So when you were, and I was like, oh, I'm so nervous. They're not going to want me. I'm older. And then when you said you're the one interviewing them, and be your authentic self. And I remember you gave me something one time, and it said, don't let them tell you you're a yellow starburst, you're a pink starburst. So I'm a pink starburst for sure. And just that, they'd be lucky to have me, because I'm going to be there to enrich whatever few years more that I work. And it just gave me such a burst of confidence to go on this new journey. I'm tearing up. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Mike.
Tell your job that you will continue to do it, but only on your terms.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Well, I could maybe, but I'm just saying, if I have to get a different one, I feel completely confident now to do that. And I appreciate that very much. And I'm very much a multi-passionate. I've been a multi-passionate my whole life. I've been shamed for it. Mm-hmm. Oh, why didn't you stay being a nurse? Why didn't you stay being a chiropractor? Why didn't you stay being this? Are you just bouncing around? I'm like, no, I'm getting better with every step. My calling, I'm finally at my calling, and I still have another calling or two to go. So we shouldn't shame people. So for being multi-passionate.
I agree. And actually, Deborah, I wrote it down. I don't know if you can see it, but stepping stones, right? Like, I'm a massage therapist, I'm a personal trainer, I'm a nutrition consultant, and it's very confusing to most people, but it builds on my skill set so that I can tap into any part of my brain I need to help whoever I'm with, whoever my client is, or whoever I'm with, or myself. And so that's the beauty of that. But I have a couple things I want to get back to, because, Turkey Buzzard tries to stay on task. The other thing I want to say about that, when we were talking about you're interviewing them as well. The other thing I did with that contract work is, at first I was saying, I want that job based on what I made up in my head would be the perfect job. And the truth was, it didn't match everything in my head. So that kind of goes back to what Trish was saying, you go out on a date and you're trying to make an apple an orange. You're like, oh, this is an orange, you know, and they're very clearly a thin mint or an apple. And we make up stories in our head to make things right. And we've got to just stop that, because as soon as we stop doing that, we get to live that authentic, cool life.
Can we talk about this a minute? Because I was going to ask you, Shelby, and now Laura too. So how would a person, and I will tell you that I've been that person, like, I can do so many things, and when somebody has this offer and it's a bunch of money, and I've gone in and I've said, well, I mean, I know how to do X, Y, Z because I've done it and I can do it in my sleep and all that. And but in the back of your mind, you're like, but yeah, I don't really want to redo that because I already did it and I didn't like it then. I don't want to do it again. But if they need it, I could do it. And so can we, maybe you guys can banter a little, because I honestly don't know the answer to this. How do you get to, look, I'm a thin mint, I hope you like it. I mean, I am that way with some things, but when there's money involved and people are saying, look, we need chocolate chip, not thin mint today. I don't know how to get to that. Well, I could be a chocolate chip. All I have to do is add chocolate chips to it. But how do we narrow it down when we are these multi-faceted people, which I think everybody is? I mean, you know, Steve Jobs had really bad learning disabilities. And so everyone has all kinds of parts. It's just that the factory has not allowed that. The factory hasn't allowed that. The slavery factory has not allowed it, because it meant that you would open up your whole brain, and heaven forbid that you would actually think outside of society, you know, heaven forbid. So we now are going, no, if we don't do that, our whole world is screwed. And so how do we hurry and give people an unplug to be their authentic self, and then show up at these job interviews like, well, I'm a thin mint. How do you do that?
I am so grateful you all are embracing the cookie metaphor. It honestly was a game changer for me. And I love that question, because it's making me think about, when we're multi-passionate, are we multiple cookies, or are we like an oatmeal cookie, but then sometimes we have chocolate chips, sometimes we have raisins, sometimes like that. So my initial reaction to your question, Trish, is what I've been dealing with lately, which is I could do that, but that would be more like, if I'm an oatmeal cookie, let's say, if someone goes, I need, I'm trying to think of cookies now.
Macaroon.
If I need a macaroon, right, and I'm an actor and the daughter of a very successful human being, I can do a lot. I can macaroon like the best of them. I can watch the videos. I can do that, right? I can kind of become a lot. When I date people, I'm like, oh, yes, of course I love the music you love, or I will learn to love that. You know, I've always been a little bit, I'm curious about humanity, which is why I'm an actor. But I think that translated to sometimes an openness that I was proud of, and sometimes I'll be whatever cookie you need.
Oh my goodness. Are you preaching to the choir?
Right. And so when it comes to, because I've had a lot of gigs like that lately too, of offering you this, and my mom knows that I've said no to big things, like my biggest contracts when they're coming back after a great pause, which is what my friend said. And I think it's the best way to say it. I'm getting a lot of my contracts back. On the day that COVID hit, I lost like $8,000 worth of contracts. And yet I also felt very relieved, because I realized I didn't really want to eat any of those cookies or be any of those cookies, except for like one, which was the Shakespeare cookie, which then kind of went to my YouTube channel. But this idea of, when I get things for money or offered things for money, if it's not, I think, a variation on your core cookie, I don't think you would be joyful in it. And even though we could do and we could help, because everyone here on this call is a positive force for good, if we say no to that, it's almost like pruning a plant, right? Like by taking off this thing that's not really helping as many people, I think we'll then be given a huge opportunity for even helping even more and making even more money. But it's that initial bit of trust of, I'm going to not take that, which has been my biggest contract so far. And I'm thinking very specifically of something I said no to recently. And I have to just trust that me kind of sticking to my core cookie dough is going to be better, not only for me, but for everyone else. So we would just want to make sure it's not from a scarcity place, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to dating, when it comes to job interviews, all of that. And that within that place of strength, or really, first we have to really know ourselves, know what our cookie batter is. And then,
so do you consider that your core values, or what do you consider that?
well,
It sounds better. It sounds more flavorful than core values.
it does. I would actually love to ask my mom about it, because if you could wave a magic wand, Dr. Deborah, would you like just say, I became a doctor and that's what I'd be for the rest of it? Or would you keep your kind of multi-passionate nature now that you know that there's a phrase for that? If you could do a magic wand, what would you do?
If I could do a magic wand, I would keep my multi-passionate nature. I think I would also become a physiatrist too. That's one of my dreams that I never realized, because couldn't go and be another doctor. I
What
went to
is
college.
it?
A physiatrist is a doctor of physical medicine. So I would work with people that are paralyzed and that have, neurological problems and stuff. It's a rehab doctor, basically. And I was a rehab nurse, and I became a chiropractor and really wanted to be a physiatrist, but whatever, it's fine. I got Shelby out of it. So, but I would stay multi-passionate, and I will continue to be multi-passionate, because after the three of us were brought together by God, I realized that I'm literally needed by Jesus and by God to help heal this planet and to help spread love and to help people feel better. I always say I'm a professional encourager. That only came out of all the other things I did. So I think I would be a multi-passionate. We have 3 minutes. No, we have 7 minutes
we have
left.
a few. I want to say something.
I do want at the end, I want Shelby to tell us about her channels and everything. And we will put we'll get that information, and we will put that on our YouTube and in our CodPast.
Linked in the description below.
Yes.
That's right. Because
go ahead, Laura.
It was so last minute. So I just want to answer Trish really quickly. I think that if you're a thin mint, which I'd prefer to be a thin mint because I like the word thin.
And your glasses are mint colored. They're perfect.
They are. I'm a thin mint. But I have to admit, I do like the flavor of macaroon. I digress. But I think instead of expanding into all of those areas you can do, you can expand how many times you get around people being the thin mint. So the man that was auditioning, he did more auditions as a thin mint rather than going to less auditions and being everything. Nice. So it's an interesting thing, because we're talking about specialization and be multi-passionate, but we're also talking about, multi-passionate. So I think we are a blend of everything. And I think when your heart knows it's not right, you know it. You just know it. It's like, do I need to do this? Boy, I need to pay the bills. Should I take it? Will I regret it? That's the wrong place. That's like where Shelby's talking about. That's the lack. It's like, no, I really don't want to do this. I've worked my whole life for this other thing. It's coming down the pike. So that's just what I think.
If you can do it, doesn't mean you have to.
That's right.
Even if it's a beautiful thing of service. I've now said no to disability contracts where they wrote me into the grants to get them. And I was, and it wasn't contingent upon me, but it was contingent upon someone like me. And I said, I'll be a consultant, but that's just not my focus right now. And I wish you all the best. I'm so glad this is continuing, but that was hard for my heart. Some things are hard for my pocketbook, but that was hard for my heart. And yet I know it in a way that can be giving someone else an experience an opportunity to experience what I did and have that, you know? So
Yeah.
it's not always saying no. We're not letting people down anytime we say no.
Well, it's being responsible with your time and your talents, because if you are all over the place, and we've got all sorts of analogies, you know, going down the runway and seeing the lights that you're supposed to, you know, oh, that light, yep, that's right. And then you kind of narrow your focus in a way that you're taking all your tools and talents, and you're literally a burst of light in this world. That's what I want to be. I just want to be extreme light. That's kind of my thing. And make people feel good. And so I think that we just have to make sure that we don't, we're what's the word? Just take care of our time and take care of our talents, because we need to, people need us. And, you know, I just am so grateful that we can talk about this stuff, and maybe hopefully other people will become inspired to do the work, because this is work. You do work. You have to really look at yourself. You got to be, you know, got to figure out, why am I a pink starburst, or why am I a thin man? And really, I'd rather be around.
And there's no motivation when there's inspiration. You don't have to push yourself out of bed. You jump out of bed.
Yeah.
And Laura, thanks for saying I've got 2 consulting jobs right now that I have said exactly that. God, I don't know if I want to do this. You know, it's good money, but do I really need it? And I just don't, you know, I'm into bigger things right now with you guys.
And if sometimes we have to take it for the money,
Right.
we can honor it and forgive it as this is my bridge job. This is giving me more information about what I do want to do.
Right.
And this is allowing me to set up a structure that then I can make choices about whether I do this or not.
So we have about 3 minutes left. So Shelby, tell us a little bit about what the business that you're going to be launching soon, as well as your other talents that you do, and your LA goal and dream.
And then we're going to be over at Clubhouse, right?
Yeah, I don't know if Shelby, we didn't talk about that, because that's just.
I mean, I could like download the app. I'm an elder millennial, so I'm trying to figure it out.
Well, it could, because people are going to want to ask you questions, and that's kind of the most fun, is when we open it up.
I'm just so grateful that all of you had me last minute, and I've been wanting to be on here for a while and just talk to you anyway. But I'm so happy to, just recap with what I'm working on. And I love Dr. Deborah /mom, how you said, I want to be a burst of light in this world. I want to be extreme light. I just think that's actually a perfect way to articulate the through line that I felt and discovered while preparing to launch this business that I'm launching May 17, 2022, of me as an audition coach. So when the great pause happened, all of these actors still were on a trajectory, these young actors, and they wanted to be coached for auditions and things. And I kind of just got randomly contacted through Instagram, but it's become this business of not only let's get you the logistical stuff that can kind of ka-cha and win over the auditioners, but I realized that the work was so much deeper than that. And a lot of it was, one of my favorite questions to ask is, what's your nerd? And they light up, but also with vulnerability. And someone says, I'm actually really into gothic vampire comedy. I'm like, let's find you a monologue for that, right? Of just kind of going from authenticity. And so I'm launching a business in May this year called Big Bold Choices, which is me as an audition coach, but it's pretty much helping aspiring actors be brave AF in their careers and in their auditions and in their lives, right? Because there's points where each of us on this call have been like, oh, I don't know. But then you go, I'm going to be brave and I'm going to do it. And it's just big and bold. Let's see how it goes. And in the acting world, if we're watching an audition and someone's being small, we're not quite sure what they can do. But if they are big and bold and like really wrong, we don't care. We can redirect that energy very quickly, but we know that they're ready to go. They're ready to risk. They're ready.
5 seconds of insane courage.
Insane courage. Yeah.
Five seconds of insane courage determines your life.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I thought you were giving me a timer. Like I only have 5
No,
seconds.
well, it's
no,
actually,
no,
it is
because
4 o'clock.
I want to continue this discussion over in Clubhouse because it's fantastic and it goes across the board. I mean, look, you've got 3 women who've had several jobs, several opportunities.
Lifetimes.
Relationships.
I've had lifetimes and I'm 30,
And-
about to be 35, you know?
And you're pulling, you're pulling in the net of so many parts of us that want to get better. And we're all 3 on very strong trajectories right now. And so we know that there are not going to be that many people that are enlightened and want to get better, but there are some. And we want those people. Right now, I can't scrape them off the floor and blow air into them and hope they're going to be all right. I've done that. And I'm really good at that. But I don't want to do it anymore. I want to work with people like us and just tweak them a tiny bit and watch them flash across the sky.
And that's what it's just seeing them and then letting them be seen. And then that's kind of a lot of people need. So eventually,
it's another catch of the day, seeing them and letting them be seen. That changed my life. I like that.
And that's what it is. And that's a lot of kind of what the work is in acting. So before I launch that business, it will be bigboldchoices.com if you're listening in the future. But before that happens, I do have a YouTube channel called Shelby Loves Shakespeare.
And I'm one of your friends.
Instagram.
So I want you back, Shelby. I want to see, maybe we help you launch or something. Because one of the things that we're doing is that we're co-creating the future and we're co-creating people's launches. So when they have a new book or they have a new idea, and we really think that it has profound impact possibilities, we're looking for impact right now. So people who are able to impact, those are the people that we want to support and help, because we know 99.99999% of the world is sucking their thumb in the corner and wondering if anybody's going to come over. And we want to have the flash of light go across the sky and have everybody run outside and go, what was that? Maybe it'll help me.
That was the CodPast.
That was a fish. That was
like
a fish out of
shooting
water.
star, right?
That was a fish out of water. Got it? Fish out of water.
Well, thank you all so much for having me. And I really appreciate this conversation. And you have made me feel brighter within I'm in that vulnerable stage of about to launch, right? So I appreciate this affirmation and this ability to chat about our values.
All right, let's get over to Clubhouse.
Thanks so much, Shelby. I am so glad you were able to.
Can we send her a link to Clubhouse?
Yes, we can.
Where's the link to Clubhouse? I want to see.
I will download the app and then I will look for the link.
We are FAC CodPast, FAC, Friday Afternoon Club.
Friday Afternoon Club.
But
we
it's
will
FAC.
send you the link. Bye. Thank you, Shelby. We're so glad you popped on from your library.
It was divinely led.
Happy April Fools, everybody.
Yeah. April
See ya.
Fools to
See ya,
you.
Clubhouse.
All right. Here we go.